WWE wrestlers have tried to unionize multiple times in hopes of forcing better work conditions, but their efforts have always been quashed by McMahon and by the WWE. I want to bring in a friend of this program, Dave Meltzer. He is a sports journalist covering pro wrestling and MMA. He's also the editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter and a definitive voice in this sport. You want answers, you call Dave Meltzer. Thank you for being on the show again, Dave. So Matt Riddle calls Vince McMahon a maniac. These are not, subtle. These are people who matter. They're people in the industry. They're people who know the culture. They know McMahon, and they're not holding back. Some people say sour grapes. Other people say, no, this is an honest assessment. What do you think?
Matt Riddle, if you know kind of how he talks, that's kind of the way he would talk. But, he was with the company and was a star with the company and had some problems and left the company. The thing that was interesting to me was that he was not surprised by the allegations, only because while some of the stuff, of course, we all knew, the stuff in the lawsuit, that shocked me. I'll just say that.
So I think it was Friday, we were talking about Bret Hart coming forward. Bret the Hitman Hart. Is nobody bigger, more famous than Bret the Hitman Hart? Maybe The Rock, but he also has some pretty scathing things to say.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I just keep wondering, why didn't people come out sooner? Why did it take this one lawsuit from Janelle Grant? A lot of people said that about Roger Ailes, right? One lawsuit came out about Roger Ailes, and it just blew the doors wide open on the industry and Roger and the disciples and et cetera. But why didn't more people come forward sooner if there was this much suffering?
Fear. Vince McMahon was the king. He was the guy who decided, if you were a success or you were a failure, and nobody wanted to cross him. That's all it really was, and some people didn't want to believe. He was a father figure to a lot of these people. So it was like, if they would hear stuff, it was like, he's just a good old boy and all that, and would want to defend him. And a lot of them saw this and changed their opinion. And some of them probably had a hard time changing their opinion because it was fueled by years and years of kind of worshiping, like you do a match and you want Vince's approval. And, that's what a lot of these guys, I've seen guys that had great matches and Vince didn't think they had a great match and was like, they get shaken because it was always about Vince's approval, because Vince is the ultimate decision maker on your career.
It's like the story we keep hearing about sexual harassment over and over. These were kingmakers. They felt like father figures. They were kind and helpful. And then suddenly it all turned to sexual advances. And oh, dear God, what do I do now? I'm going to lose everything I've built for the last 20 years if I don't, succumb to what this jerk wants. So Bruce Pritchard is, he's being accused by Ronda Rousey of really being being controlled by the Svengali Vince McMahon. He's just the puppet. Is that true? Is that your assessment? Because if that's the case, then her accusation, and others have said, this guy is really just an avatar for Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon's still running the show. He hasn't left at all. What do you think?
Bruce Pritchard's rep has always been, loyal to Vince, yes man to Vince. Now, as far as like today, is that the case? I don't know. As far as the last time, I'm sure. They had a relationship dating back to the mid '80s. So it would be, of course that, if Vince is completely gone, that's one thing. But if he's got like a step in there and he's not completely gone, yeah, he's going to talk to Bruce, of course.
I only have like 10 seconds left, but I do got to get you on this, Dave. The number of wrestlers who've died before the age of 50 and 60, and the grueling nature of the work that they've done. Do you think something's going to happen? Do you think this can of worms is going to open up, and suddenly everything's going to be questioned? The deaths of all of these people, it's all going to be questioned based on the culture of the WWE.
Well, the one thing I will say is that era, they have made lots and lots of changes. The schedule isn't nearly as tough as it used to be. It was brutal in the 80s and the 90s. And then by the late 90s, somewhat because of the painkiller stuff and because they started drug testing and things like that, it did get better. It's not as bad as it once was, but that track record in the 80s, the schedule that those guys were on was so brutal. It almost boggles my mind when I think back on that era.
It hurts to see some of those documentaries when Ric Flair talks about what he went through and a lot of his colleagues, etc. I said it before, I'll say it again. You want answers, you call Dave Meltzer. Thank you for being here again tonight. Really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.